Well, I'm gonna say because they start off with some of the heavy hitters, so I'm gonna scroll through the list for a minute. I got it pulled up right now. Let's go with some low hanging fruit and talk about R. Kelly for a minute. Which I think is probably, I to me, in my lifetime, was probably the most severe of the cases, because we have a lot more victims that have come forward that have been credible victims that have all told, people that don't know each other, that have not been coached in any way, that have told the same story of something that happened then 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever the case may be. And usually it's a promise of stardom. And a lot of these cases that we're going to discuss, particularly the older ones, these were just some pervy old dude that was in love with a young girl, and
Yeah,
that's a
and work
whole
and work
different
it out.
podcast episode for a different podcast. I'm
No,
not going
no,
to go into all
but we
that.
can mention it though because but a lot of these were set up nice and legal where nobody could get in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Jerry Lee Lewis, like it or not, which yeah, it's definitely pervy for an older man to marry his 13-year-old cousin. They
Yeah,
did
I
get
think it.
married, and they were somewhat committed to one another.
What was it? It was something like he was 23 and she was 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy.
So, and again, we're also talking about from people from out in the country, and it's just things are done different that way, and we know better now, of course. But in R. Kelly's case, this is a very different scenario of a man who used his stardom to kind of give these dangle a carrot, if you will, in front of these young girls, and I can put you in a video, and I make you a star like I did Aaliyah, which Aaliyah, of course, we know now, they married when she was 15 years old, and he made a star out of her. She's singing something about age ain't nothing but a number. Come on, man.
Yep.
About as open as you can kind of get with it. So, look, man.
No, not. I've seen something more open than that. How about Chuck Berry singing "Sweet Little 16"?
Well, we're going to get to him in a little bit. On R. Kelly for a minute, because Dave Chappelle definitely did. And in a lot of these cases, of course, we've had victims that have come forth. The R. Kelly case really got, white hot, it reignited after Dave Chappelle, which, it was common knowledge at this point. There was already a tape with him in it, and he somehow escaped prosecution. He couldn't escape prosecution from the second tape, though, with a different victim. And it was done in such a brazen way, if I remember some of the testimony, that during the video, during him having this act with this girl, he even he has her recite her age to him, that he's beating up his 14-year-old blank. I'll let y'all fill in the blank. It starts with a P and ends with a Y.
So he wanted to make sure
that's on tape. That's what he did. That's
he wanted to make sure that was
video.
Exhibit A, right?
That's you can't get much more damning than that, and he is very safely tucked away in Illinois State Penitentiary, and will be probably for the remainder of his days. That's a good thing. One that has popped up recently, Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I heard that one.
This one's gained a lot of traction as of late, which is rather unfortunate, because if I remember correctly, the Red Hot Chili Peppers have released an album recently. But this is in a memoir that Mr. Kiedis wrote himself, that he admitted to writing a song for a 14-year-old girl that he had slept with a couple times when he was 23. And that kind of, and again, I don't know how some of these people that have been in relationships, consensual relationships with an adult, that didn't end very well and have suddenly got canceled. Ryan Adams from the Americana, I guess you could call his genre.
Yeah.
Very, very popular indie musician, recently went through that probably about 5 or 6 years ago. His ex was, of course, the actress and singer Mandy Moore, and who had some pretty disparaging things to say about their relationship. And again, this is among consenting adults, Mm-hmm. So I don't know why a guy like Ryan Adams, who I'm not a fan of, well, let's get that straight right now, but why a guy like Ryan Adams gets canceled for basically just kind of a horny rock star, essentially. I mean, nothing really truly damning or salacious, no rape charges or statutory rape or this, that, and the other. I don't understand how a guy like that pretty much almost loses his career overnight, and Anthony Kiedis somehow gets a pass. Is that probably because there's a lot more money behind him? A la Kobe Bryant. Oh,
Okay,
I
so
said that. I'm sorry, I said that out loud, didn't I?
let me go and ask this. I did see Gene's mug in there. I did not read it.
Gene has, and that's kind of, he's a horny old dude.
Right.
And horny old dude, he was acting like horny old dudes used to act in the 70s and 80s when that sort of thing was okay. And it's never really been okay. Let's get that straight now. But there was certain liberties that guys felt that they could take with women that were socially acceptable, and the ladies would just pat them on the hand, and oh, boys will be boys.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They would pull it off 9 times, and that 10th time.
And I really believe that Gene's on this list because he is Gene, and Gene's name. Anytime Gene's name is being mentioned, there's cash registers ringing somewhere with him getting a cut of it.
Well, absolutely.
So, I really, basically, his case boils down to it's a radio DJ. He was apparently on the air on a radio show, and I guess you can Google it and find out more information. But apparently, he took her hand and rubbed it against his knee or something like that, and made unwarranted sexual advances. And I think this is something that's been done recently.
Okay. So
yeah, within the past 5 years or so.
This is old Walker Gene doing it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I hate to put it like that, but Gene's not getting any younger.
No.
My favorite one on this list, Don Henley.
Shit.
Because I fucking hate Don Henley.
It, but I did not read that one.
And I'm smoking a cigarette like Dennis Leary as I say that. I fucking hate Don Henley. Don Henley is probably the reason that the Eagles get the vitriol that they do, because you listen to some Eagles music, and I don't care, man. I don't care what you're into. There's still some good music.
No, I love the Eagles.
Yeah,
but Don Henley does.
Joe motherfucking Walsh, man.
I'd much rather hear I'd much rather hear Henley sing than talk.
And sing a harmony. He doesn't even have to be up front. He'd sit back there on the drums, just every now and then,
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, paramedics were sent to his house, and he was getting high with 2 naked girls. One was 16 years old, and one was her 15-year-old friend.
Why was the paramedics called?
Well, apparently, I don't know. There was some drugs being involved, and it kind of also came out too that there was a prostitution charge thrown in there. Don't know what the girls were doing there. Maybe they were paid to be there. I don't know.
I think it comes down to you can check out anytime you like. But
and isn't that an amazing comeback story for him though? To go through something that just, I mean, oh my God, if something like that happened now, what's a good big rock star these days? Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
If Dave Grohl
don't do shit though.
Absolutely. Dave Grohl is nothing but a wonderful human being, and anybody talks shit about Dave Grohl is just a player hater.
I agree.
Now, seriously, man, the motherfucker's on Sesame Street. Well, how you gonna step to that?
Yep.
If Dave Grohl was caught in any capacity whatsoever, if the police are called to his house and his wife's out of town and he's got a 16 and 15-year-old girl, and then it's found that he had paid them for sexual situations and they were all doing drugs together, that would absolutely single-handedly destroy his career. He would do time for that. No question whatsoever. Even if it was just a month in county jail, he would do some jail time for that.
Yeah, but the 80s, that was the decade of decadence.
And Don Henley
said it.
Don Henley goes through this, and then he turns right around and probably has some of the biggest solo hits of his career, makes him a shit ton of cash, along with a bunch of other people.
Yeah, he got a lot of ideas that night.
What about Marilyn Manson?
Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, what's up?
So, what do you know about Marilyn Manson, Bob?
Well, I guess like he said, took his stuff too far. I'm not a big fan of Marilyn Manson. I thought he was kind of bizarre, and his music it
He had
really
a
didn't
moment.
interest me.
He had a
They
moment.
had two, and
Yeah.
he had a moment with his bands. The band that he brought with him, the Spooky Kids, were absolutely phenomenally amazing. And then you add Trent Reznor back behind the board and kind of shaping some of the stuff that he had going on musically into what they had going on. Those first two albums and the EP are simply fucking amazing.